The sky above Outpost Ravelin was a bruised violet, dark clouds swirling like wounded beasts. Dust storms rolled across the barren plains of Forsetti 9, rattling the metal walls of the base. Sergeant Daniel Arden stepped out of the armored transport, the wind tugging at his jacket, and adjusted the strap of his rifle. After 6 months on the front, he'd seen every flavor of cruelty this war could offer. But today he knew something worse awaited him. The whispers had already reached him during the shuttle ride. The coalition had acquired an alien prisoner, and they were planning to trade her. Again, Daniel hated the trade system. It wasn't slavery, at least not legally. But to him, exchanging living beings like negotiation tokens, like bargaining chips thrown onto a table, felt far too close. Inside the outpost hangar, personnel rushed back and forth, preparing supply crates and fueling dropships. At the far end, a cluster of soldiers and officers surrounded a containment pod, its surface glowing with a soft blue sheen. A figure sat inside, faint, almost like a silhouette. Daniel frowned. That must be her. As he approached, Captain Alcott barked an order. "Step back! The prisoner is dangerous." Daniel recognized her now, Carrie T-Shell, former elite fighter of the Azurian Republic. She had once led a platoon of aerial units that nearly wiped out an entire coalition fleet. Her reputation was legendary. The pod hissed open. Carrie stepped out, hands bound in shimmering energy cuffs. She was tall and lithe, with sapphire skin that glowed faintly in the shadows. Her silver-white hair, braided tightly, fell over her shoulder like a ribbon of moonlight. Her eyes, bright, luminescent teal, surveyed the room with quiet defiance. But behind that defiance was something else. Fear. Captain Alcott turned to Daniel. "Sergeant Arden, you're the escort." Daniel blinked. "Escort?" "Sir, I thought I was here for reconnaissance briefings." "Your orders have changed," Alcott said. "You'll take the prisoner to the trade point at Sector L9. The Coalition is exchanging her for intel." Daniel stiffened. "Sir, she's already been traded twice." "That's politics, Arden, not your concern." Carrie's eyes flickered to him just for a moment like a silent plea. Alcott continued, "Keep her quiet, keep her contained, and don't listen to anything she says. Azurians are manipulators." Daniel said nothing, but the knot in his stomach tightened. "Move out," Alcott snapped. The transport rumbled across Forsetti 9's jagged terrain, dust storms battering the hull. Carrie sat opposite Daniel, her hands still bound, her gaze fixed on the small viewport. Minutes ticked by in silence until she finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. "Human, what is your name?" Daniel hesitated. "Sergeant Daniel Arden." Her eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "You do not speak like the others." "They look at me as if I were cargo." Daniel exhaled. "You're not cargo." Carrie tilted her head. "Then why do they continue to trade me?" He didn't have an answer. The war had blurred so many moral lines that even he had trouble seeing where they once stood. After a long silence, Carrie whispered, barely audible over the engine hum, "Take me with you, human. I don't want to be sold again." Daniel's breath caught. "What did you say?" She lifted her eyes to his, pleading, desperate but still proud. Azurians didn't beg. They were known for their fierce honor. For one of them to speak like this, it broke something in his chest. "I have been traded 3 times," Carrie said quietly. "Each faction demands secrets from me. Each time I refuse, they trade me again. They call it negotiation. It feels like torment." Daniel swallowed hard. "I'm sorry. Your coalition wants me for intel about the Skybridge vault." She looked away. "I would rather die than reveal it. My people depend on it for survival." Daniel knew the Skybridge Vault, a planet-sized energy stabilizer controlling half the Azurian systems. If it fell, their society would collapse. Captain Alcott won't harm you, Daniel said. He just wants the exchange. Carrie shook her head. The next faction will not be so gentle, and the one after that will be worse. A tremor ran through her voice. I cannot endure another cycle. Before Daniel could respond, the ground trembled. The transport swerved violently. Impact! Daniel shouted. Hold on! A shockwave slammed into them. The vehicle spun and flipped, metal screaming as it crashed down the hillside. Everything went white. Daniel awoke to a piercing ringing in his ears, the transport half buried in sand. Sparks flickered from broken consoles. His head throbbed, but he forced himself upright. Carrie? His heart pounded until he saw her lying in the corner, breathing but unconscious. He crawled to her and checked for injuries. Her energy cuffs flickered, damaged but still active. Carrie, wake up, Daniel murmured, lightly shaking her shoulder. She stirred, wincing. The vehicle was attacked. Looks like it. Daniel peered outside. Black scorch marks scarred the hillside. Could have been raiders or someone tracking you. Carrie pushed herself up. We must move. The trade point will send scouts when we fail to arrive. Daniel hesitated. He looked at her, the pride in her posture, the fear she tried to hide, the quiet resilience. She wasn't an enemy anymore. She wasn't a bargaining token. She was a person who had been passed from hand to hand like an object, and she'd begged him not for freedom, but for dignity. You're not going back, he said finally. Carrie blinked. What? Daniel stood, grabbing his pack. I'm not delivering you to be traded again. You would defy your leadership. I'd defy the whole damn coalition if it meant doing what's right. She stared at him, stunned. Why? She whispered. Daniel's jaw tightened. Because you asked. A slow, trembling breath escaped her lips, half relief, half disbelief. He tapped the damaged cuffs. Can you break these? Carrie examined them. They are weakened from the crash. If you overload the energy cell inside your rifle, I can channel the discharge. Daniel nodded. He removed the rifle's power core, twisted open the safety locks, and handed it to her. Carrie held it between her bound wrists and closed her eyes. Her skin glowed, bioluminescence flaring like stars. The cuffs sparked, then shattered in a burst of blue light. She gasped, staggering. Daniel caught her before she fell. You okay? Carrie nodded shakily. The energy drain is significant, but I am free. Daniel smiled faintly. Then let's keep it that way. They trekked across Forseti 9's barren plains, staying low to avoid patrol drones. The sun hung low, casting jagged shadows across the cracked ground. Carrie walked silently beside him until she finally said, You risk court-martial for this, even death. Better than living with myself after delivering you like some package. She paused. Among my people, we have a saying, a warrior's honor is measured not by victory, but by the lives they refuse to sacrifice. Daniel glanced at her. That's a good saying. It suits you. A faint smile tugged at her lips. It struck him how young she seemed despite her reputation, only a few years older than him. As night fell, they found shelter in a ruined comms tower. Daniel set up a small heater and Carrie sat close, warming her hands. You humans are strange, she said softly. You wage war fiercely, yet you show compassion even for your enemies. Daniel shrugged. Maybe we're just confused. She looked at him with a quiet intensity. Confused or not. You saved me, I won't forget it. Before he could respond, a sharp beeping echoed through the tower. Daniel grabbed his scanner. His blood ran cold. Drones, he said. They found the crash site. Carrie stood. They will track us here. Not if we're gone first. They sprinted through the ruins, ducking behind slabs of collapsed concrete. Drone lights swept across the distance, searching, closing in. A metallic voice echoed across the plains. Surrender the Azurian combatant immediately. This is your final warning. Daniel cursed. They're not messing around. Carrie glanced at him. Go, leave me, they want me, not you. Not happening. You have a life, Daniel, a home, a future, her voice cracked. Do not lose it for me. He stepped toward her, gripping her shoulders. Carrie, listen to me. I'm not abandoning you, not now, not ever. Her breath hitched. For a moment, her glowing eyes shimmered, not with light, but with emotion. Then we run, she whispered. They raced toward the canyon ridge, the ground trembling under their feet as drones closed in. Searchlights swept across the rocks. Daniel fired bursts from his rifle, knocking one drone out of the sky. Carrie leaped onto a boulder with incredible agility, kicking another drone down the ravine, but they kept coming. We can't outrun them forever, Daniel shouted. Carrie scanned the cliffside. There, a cave system. It might lead to the underground tunnels. They dashed inside as plasma shots scorched the canyon entrance. The cave twisted downward, glowing with faint bioluminescent moss. As they caught their breath, Carrie suddenly grabbed Daniel's arm. Wait! Footsteps, multiple. A squad of coalition troopers emerged, weapons raised. Leading them was Captain Alcott. Daniel froze. Sergeant Arden, Alcott said coldly, I knew you'd betray orders. Daniel stepped in front of Carrie. She's not going with you. She's a high-value prisoner, Alcott snapped. Stand aside. No, Daniel, Carrie whispered. They'll kill you. But Daniel didn't move. Alcott raised his pistol. Last warning. Daniel braced himself, but before Alcott fired, an explosion rocked the cavern. A shockwave knocked everyone down. Dust filled the air. A new voice echoed through the chamber. Step away from the human. Daniel blinked. Azurian fighters, 3 of them, descended from the cave's ceiling, their wings flickering with energy. One of them landed beside Carrie. Commander Surath, Carrie breathed. You found me. Surath nodded. We tracked your signal after the crash, Alcott cursed. Fall back, retreat to the ridge. Coalition troopers scattered, overwhelmed by the sudden Azurian assault. Daniel shielded Carrie as debris rained down. When the chaos settled, Surath approached Daniel with careful eyes. You protected one of ours, he said. Why? Daniel glanced at Carrie, who stood close, her expression soft. She asked me, Daniel replied simply. Surath nodded. Then you have our thanks. He turned to Carrie. We must go. The tunnel will collapse soon. Carrie hesitated, then looked back at Daniel. Come with us, she said quietly. Daniel blinked. Carrie, your people won't exactly welcome a human soldier. I will speak for you. Her hand reached for his, not quite touching, but close. You saved my life, she whispered. Let me save yours. Daniel looked toward the collapsing tunnel behind him, then at the glowing path ahead, uncertain, dangerous, but full of possibility. He stepped forward. Carrie's eyes glowed softly, relieved. Together, they followed the Azurian fighters into the darkness. Hours later, the tunnels opened into a vast underground sanctuary, an ancient Azurian refuge lit with shimmering crystal spires. Energy pulsed through the air like a heartbeat. Carrie walked beside Daniel, her steps slow from exhaustion but steady. You were right, she said quietly. There is more to your kind than war. Daniel smiled. Same goes for yours. She stopped, turning to face him fully. I meant what I said earlier, Carrie murmured. I do not wish to be bought, traded, or held again. I want to live by my own choices, and you gave me that chance. Daniel's voice softened. I didn't save you because I had to, Carrie. I saved you because no one deserves to be treated like an object. She stepped closer. And if I choose to walk forward with you even as enemies of this war, Daniel held her gaze, then I'll walk with you wherever that leads. Her hand finally touched his, light, warm, and trembling. For the first time in many cycles, she whispered, I feel free. Daniel squeezed her hand gently. Then we'll stay free together. Above them, the sanctuary lights glowed brighter, as if blessing their next steps. And deep in the caverns of Forsetti 9, two former enemies began a new path, bound not by war, but by a promise stronger than any command.